Welcome to Smart English Stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more English stories. 10 years ago, I was tired of the city life. The city was too hot in the summer, and I wanted a change. I wanted to see the country. I wanted to walk in the woods and see green trees. I had a little red car and a map. I drove all night out into the country. I was happy in my car. That summer was very good. The country was very pretty in the early morning. The sun was hot, and the sky was blue. Birds sang in the trees. But then, my car stopped suddenly. What's wrong, I thought. Oh dear, I haven't got any petrol. Now I'll have to walk. I'll have to find a town and buy some petrol. But where am I? I looked at the map. I was not near a town. I was lost in the country. And then I saw the girl. She walked down the road with flowers in her hand. She wore a long dress, and her hair was long too. It was long and black, and it shone in the sun. She was very pretty. I wanted to speak to her, so I got out of the car. Hello, I said. I'm lost. Where am I? I said. She looked afraid, so I spoke quietly. I haven't got any petrol. Where can I find some? I said. Her blue eyes looked at me, and she smiled. She's a very pretty girl, I thought. I do not know, she said. Come with me to the village. Perhaps we can help you, she said. I went with her happily, and we walked a long way. There isn't a village on the map, I thought. Perhaps it's a very small village, she said. There was a village, and it was old and pretty. The houses were black and white and very small. There were a lot of animals. The girl stopped at a house and smiled at me. Come in, please, she said. I went in. The house was very clean, but it was strange too. There was a fire and some food above it. I felt hungry then. That's strange, I thought. They cook their food over a wood fire. Perhaps they have no money. I met her father and mother, and I liked them. They were nice people, but their clothes were strange. Sit down, said the old man. Are you thirsty after your walk? He gave me a drink, and I said, thank you, but the drink was strange too. It was dark brown and very strong. I didn't understand, but I was happy there. I asked about petrol, but the old man didn't understand. Petrol, he asked. What is that? This is strange, I thought. Then I asked, do you walk everywhere? The old man smiled. Oh no, we use horses, he said. Horses, I thought. Horses are very slow. Why don't they have cars? But I didn't say that to the old man. I felt happy there. I stayed all day, and I ate dinner with them that evening. Then the girl and I went out into the garden. The girl's name was Mary. This is nice. We like having visitors. We do not see many people here, she said. We spoke happily. She was very beautiful. But after a time, she began to talk quietly, and her face was sad. Why are you sad? I asked her. I cannot tell you. You are only a visitor here. We have to say goodbye tonight. You have to go now, she said. I didn't understand. I loved her. I knew that. And I wanted to help her. Why did I have to go? But Mary said again in a sad voice, you have to go. It is dangerous here. So I said, I'll go to the next town and find some petrol. Then I'll come back. She didn't speak. I love you, Mary, I said, and I'll come back to you. You won't stop me. She said goodbye to me at the door. Her face was very sad, and I was sad, too. I didn't want to go. It was midnight. The night was very dark, but I walked and walked. I was very tired when I saw the lights of a town. I found some petrol, and then I asked the name of the village. But the man at the garage gave me a strange look. What village? He asked. I told him about the village. I told him about the old houses and the people with strange clothes. Again, he gave me a strange look. He thought, and then he said, there was a village there, but it isn't there now. There are stories about it, strange stories. What do people say about it? I asked. He didn't want to tell me, but then he said, there was a big fire in the village. Everybody died. There aren't any people or houses there now. How did it happen? I asked. And why? Oliver Cromwell killed them, he said. He was angry with the villagers because they helped the king in the war. I couldn't speak. This isn't right, I thought. That war happened 350 years ago. Then I remembered the strange clothes, the long hair, the food over the fire, and the old houses. And I remembered, too, about the horses. But I don't understand, I cried. I saw the people and the village. I spoke to some people there. The man looked quickly at me, and then he spoke. There's an interesting story about the village. For one day every 10 years it lives again, but only for one day. Then it goes away again for another 10 years. On that one day you can find the village, but you have to leave before morning, or you will never leave. Can this be right? I thought. Perhaps it was. Mary said, you have to go. She loved me, but she said, we have to say goodbye. She was afraid for me. Now I understand, I thought. I went back to the village, but it wasn't there. I looked again, but I couldn't find it. I saw only flowers and trees. I heard only the sound of the birds and the wind. I was very sad. I sat down on the ground and cried. I will never forget that day. I remember Mary, and I will always love her. Now, I only have to wait 2 months. The village will come back again. On the right day, I will go back. I will find her again, my love with the long, black hair. And this time, I will not leave before morning. I will stay with her. 2 months passed slowly. Every day felt like a year. I thought about Mary all the time. I remembered her smile, her blue eyes, and her long black hair. I dreamed of her at night. I wanted to see her again. I wanted to hold her and tell her I loved her. I prepared for my journey. I filled my car with petrol. I packed some food and water. I took a blanket and a small tent. I wanted to be ready for anything. I wanted to stay with Mary, no matter what happened. The day finally came. I woke up early. The sun was just rising. I felt excited and nervous. I got into my car and drove out into the country. I followed the same road as before. I hoped I would find the village again. As I drove, I thought about Mary. I remembered her sad face when she said goodbye. I wondered why she was sad. What was the secret she couldn't tell me? Why was it dangerous for me to stay in the village? I drove all day. The sun was setting when I reached the place where I had seen the village. I stopped my car and got out. I looked around. At first, I saw nothing but flowers and trees. I felt disappointed. Maybe the village wouldn't come back. Maybe I would never see Mary again. But then, I saw something in the distance. It was the village. It was there again, just as before. The old houses, the animals, the people in strange clothes. It was like a dream. I felt very happy. I ran towards the village. I entered the village and looked for Mary. I saw her by the same house where we first met. She was holding flowers in her hand. She looked even more beautiful than I remembered. Her long black hair shone in the evening sun. She saw me and smiled. "You came back," she said softly. "Yes, Mary," I said. "I promised you I would. I love you." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I love you too," she said. "But it's not safe for you here." "I don't care," I said. "I want to be with you." We hugged each other tightly. I felt her heart beating fast. I felt like I was home. We went into her house. Her parents were there, and they smiled when they saw me. "You are back," said her father. "You must really love our Mary." "I do," I said. "I want to stay with her." Her mother looked worried. "Do you know what you are saying? Do you know what this means?" "I know," I said. "I will stay with Mary no matter what." Mary looked at me. Mary looked at me with fear in her eyes. "You don't know everything," she whispered. "There's something I must tell you." Her father sighed and nodded. "It's time he knows, Mary." We sat by the fire, and Mary held my hand tightly. She began to speak slowly, her voice trembling. "Our village is cursed," she said. "Long ago, during the war, we helped the king. Oliver Cromwell's men found out and burned our village. Everyone died in the fire." I shivered. "But you're all here now," I said. "Yes," she said. "Every 10 years, our village comes back to life for one day. We live again for that day, but only for that day. When the sun rises the next morning, we disappear. We go back to being spirits." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So, you're all ghosts?" I asked. Mary nodded, tears in her eyes. "Yes. And if you stay with us until morning, you will become one of us. You will be trapped here forever." I felt a chill run down my spine. I looked at Mary, my heart aching. "But I love you," I said. "I want to be with you." She shook her head. "You don't understand. You have a life outside this village. You have a future. I don't want you to give that up." I looked at her parents. They were watching us with sad eyes. "Is there no way to break the curse?" I asked. Her father shook his head. "We've tried everything. We're bound to this fate." I felt a lump in my throat. "So, what do?" I asked. "Do I leave and never see you again?" Mary's grip on my hand tightened. "I don't want you to go," she said. "But I don't want you to stay and lose your life either. This is why I was sad when we first met. I knew this day would come." Tears streamed down my face. I loved Mary with all my heart, and the thought of leaving her was unbearable. But I also didn't want to become a spirit, trapped in the village forever. The night was quiet, filled with the sounds of nature. Mary and I sat outside, under the stars, holding each other close. We talked about our lives, our dreams, and our love. I wish things were different, I said, my voice choked with emotion. I wish I could stay with you without becoming a ghost. Mary stroked my hair gently. I wish that too, she said, but we can't change what is. Let's make the most of this night. Let's make it a night to remember. We kissed, and it felt like our souls were intertwined. We lay on the grass, looking up at the stars, and shared our deepest thoughts and feelings. It was a night filled with love, sorrow, and the bittersweet knowledge that it was our last night together. As the night went on, I felt a growing sense of dread. I didn't want the sun to rise. I didn't want to say goodbye to Mary. But time was passing, and soon it would be morning. The sky began to lighten, and the first rays of dawn appeared on the horizon. Mary and I held each other tightly, knowing our time was running out. I don't want to go, I said, tears streaming down my face. I know, she whispered, her own tears falling, but you must. Promise me you'll live a good life. Promise me you'll remember me. I promise, I said, my heart breaking. I'll never forget you, Mary. We kissed one last time, a kiss filled with all the love and pain we felt. Then, with the sun rising, I knew I had to leave. I stood up, looking at Mary one last time. Goodbye, my love, I said, my voice trembling. Goodbye, she said, her blue eyes filled with sorrow. I love you. I turned and walked away, my heart heavy with grief. As I reached the edge of the village, I looked back. The village and its people were fading, becoming less and less visible. Mary stood there, watching me with tears in her eyes. And then, they were gone. I drove back to the city, my heart aching with loss. The world felt empty without Mary. I went through the motions of life, but my heart was always with her. I counted the days, months, and years, waiting for the village to appear again. Every 10 years, on the same day, I returned to the spot where I had seen the village, and every 10 years it appeared again. I saw Mary, and we spent a day together, filled with love and sorrow. We talked, laughed, and cried, knowing our time was limited. Each goodbye was harder than the last. Each time, my heart broke a little more, but I never gave up hope. I believed that one day we would find a way to be together without the curse. 20 years passed, and I was an older man, but my love for Mary never faded. I had learned a lot about the supernatural, searching for a way to break the curse. I read old books, talked to scholars, and followed every lead. One day, I found a clue in an old, dusty book. It spoke of a ritual that could break curses. It was dangerous and difficult, but it was a glimmer of hope. I decided to try it, no matter the cost. I prepared for the next time the village would appear. I gathered the ingredients for the ritual and learned the words I needed to say. I was ready to face any danger if it meant I could be with Mary. The day finally came. I drove to the spot where the village would appear. As the sun set, the village materialized before my eyes. I saw Mary waiting for me, her face filled with hope and fear. I ran to Mary and hugged her tightly. I think I found a way to break the curse, I said, my voice trembling with excitement. She looked at me with wide eyes. Really? How? I explained the ritual to her. It's risky, but it's our only hope, I said. Will you help me? She nodded. I'll do anything to be with you. We gathered the villagers and explained the plan. Everyone agreed to help. We prepared the ingredients and set up the ritual. As midnight approached, we stood in a circle, holding hands. I began to chant the ancient words, my heart pounding. The air around us crackled with energy. The ground trembled, and a bright light enveloped us. The light grew brighter and brighter until it was blinding. I felt a powerful force pulling at me, but I held on, determined to finish the ritual. Finally, with a burst of energy, the light disappeared, and everything went quiet. I opened my eyes and looked around. The village was still there. The people were still there, and Mary was still there, holding my hand. "Did it work?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I think so," I said. "We're still here." We waited for the sun to rise, filled with hope and fear. As the first rays of dawn appeared, nothing happened. The village didn't fade. The people didn't disappear. We were free. Mary and I hugged each other, crying tears of joy. The curse was broken. We could be together, finally and forever. Mary and I lived a long and happy life together. The village thrived, and the people celebrated their freedom every year. We had children and grandchildren, and our love grew stronger with each passing day. I never forgot the first day I met Mary, the day my car ran out of petrol. It was the day my life changed forever. It was the day I found my true love. And now, as an old man, I look back on our life with gratitude. I am thankful for the love we shared, the challenges we overcame, and the happiness we found. Mary and I proved that love is stronger than any curse. We proved that hope and determination can overcome even the greatest obstacles. And as I sit by the fire, holding Mary's hand, I know that our love will live on forever and always.